over again, people will give me money because they support my endeavors. But I know that this one thing that I'm crowdfunding for will not make me money. That is almost all StarCraft 2 stuff. So I would go as far as to say that most of it would be something like at least 50-50, if not more like 80-20, 80 being the player prize pool. So it is extremely different what Revival StarCraft 2 is trying to do. We'll talk more about that after I introduce the players. It is a best of 3 of the winners finals. In the top left of Persephone, another one I can pronounce. We do have MaxPax, and in the bottom left it is Clem. And it is a U-shaped map, I guess. Apollo looked at the camera. I think he was listening to me. Yeah, to talk more about kind of the situation. So first of all, normal looking stuff right now. It is going to be a factory expand from Clem. I'll try and pay attention to whether it's really bigger cheese or not. I'm guessing it won't be, though. And MaxPax is going Cybernetic Cobra Nexus. But there definitely is a certain amount of general addition to a broadcast that comes with having commentators in studio. Like, I definitely believe that. All right? Did I believe that it was worth the amount of money that they spent on us to take us to Stockholm during those COVID years 3 times to have us all in studio? I don't know about that one. I really don't. Okay? When you think about the actual money required to produce offline. But then there was other factors. Like, we weren't the only ones benefiting from being offline but being paid for that. There is all the people who usually work in a broadcast who have to be physically in place to get paid. So there is that. But, you know, there definitely is something about casters being together. But is it that much of a difference? I don't know. I don't know what money amount I would put on it, honestly. Especially considering the other goals of it. So there's like Home Story Cup or the Safe House that I did, where the whole thing is that the casters are going to be really dumb with each other. We're going to drink. We're going to do stupid stuff. We're going to have to be like in physical proximity to do some of the stupid stuff, like pouring water bucket over my head. Our physicalness being on camera is important to an event like that or Home Story Cup. But if you're just going to be like button up, suit and tie, then what you're getting is that chemistry addition from the casters, but you're not getting much more from having an official broadcast with that. So that also would change the money that I would put on it. Yeah, you know, but I mean, I do like the idea of being together. It just, an official studio is very expensive, and I don't know how much having that available for what would be online matches continuously. I mean, I guess the best way to put it is I would not have made the money divvy up that way, personally. I would have said no to the broadcast studio, and I would have suggested instead to do it at someone's house. Because they do live within, 45 minutes of each other. Maybe an hour, I guess. But that's just me, all right? And their goal is different than what my goal would be, so. Hopefully you understand why it's a bit controversial then when I started off this discussion. All right, so we got to the builds now more fleshed out. Clem did go for Reaper Hellion opener, was denied access into the natural. Main is a Widow Mine drop. This is something that MaxPax was totally anticipating, and does not screw up. Does not screw up. He's going to lose a Stalker because Blink wasn't done, but he gets the Medivac, so I'd say that is worth it. And this Widow Mine is a goner as well. Do they request feedback from you casters? No. It's their thing. Like, they were talking to each other about it. This has, nothing to do with the rest of the commentators. I mean, maybe if you really wanted to make it dramatic, you could have some weird argument where one of us is, like, petty enough to be like, well, because you take the money, we don't get the money. But that just gets no one anywhere fast. One stalker does go down. 2 SCVs go down in turn. Looks like a stalker is in trouble on the defense as well. The 3 Reavers and a Hellion. Still able to take on 1, maybe 2 stalkers without that shield battery there. So it's worth considering, meaning that MaxPax doesn't actually get to focus entirely on the offensive. He is 3 gating, so the Nexus is on the way. This is not all in, but he clearly wanted to find some damage. Clem took this very seriously. He built that second bunker. Not strictly necessary, I suppose, but definitely the safer path forward. And then he is going up to at least 3 tanks. Stim is on the way. Add-on should be on the way soon for the starport and barracks. A couple more probes are going down on the rally to the 3rd Nexus. That's a nice find by units that would otherwise not contribute past the 430 mark. Once they've done some type of distraction for the Widowmine or vice versa, that's usually it for the Reaper Hellion. So I guess 5-minute mark, actually. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. As far as the openers go, it actually kind of feels like Clem got the advantage here. Hold on. And no, I mean, maybe if he had saved the medevac with the 2 Widowmines, that would have put him in a better position, but his Widowmines... Actually, they didn't even get, like, 2 probes, right? They only got 1. So, yeah, maybe not. Maybe it is just still a net loss for the Terran, but it does feel like it was not as perfect for MaxPax as it usually would be. He would lose maybe 1 or 2 stalkers on the front line, sure, but he wouldn't usually have to lose any probes behind that. Yeah, still a net loss for the Terran. Not game-breaking, of course, but the way that TVP is fleshed out here, and I talked about this last time, but close my eyes, cast from there, and I probably could do it, is that the Terran gets their move out, gets their 4 medevac army time, is what I'm going to call it, before they then have to retreat and be scared of the Protoss. So they can have a little time to do a direct push. They can have time to do a double drop. They can have time to do a push and a drop. Whatever, right? But once the 2 Colossus are out, the Terran has to start worrying about if they did enough damage or not to stay on the front line. And if they didn't, and they can't, they are forced to retreat and kind of turtle up on 3 bases, in which case the Protoss, in this case MaxPax, uses the Warp Prism for harassment, sets up the Zealot run-bys for harassment, bullies the Terran army with the Colossus, drains the energy of the medevacs, eventually catches the tanks out of position so Zealots can take care of it, and then it's just a seemingly losing battle every time. Clem is our first Terran, I guess you could call him. He's our best. He's the guy you would first look at to see what he's doing against something problematic, and he seems to be struggling as much as, if not more, than many other Terrans in this matchup. So, it's tough. Looks like Clem is trying to get around, also using what it looks to be acceleration zones to get there even faster. This is MaxPax's 4th base. Did take him quite a time to get over here. Not quite realizing what Clem was up to until about halfway through the map. But he does have his army over here. 1 Colossus, though, very, very low. Immortal now without the shield, and Nexus could be sniped easily. That should probably go down. He decides to go after the Colossus, now going after the Immortal, grabs both. 2nd Colossus is here. Zealots on the backside as well. Took out all the reinforcements, all the tanks. I did not see. I saw that glob of Zealots, and I thought they were going to go into the natural. They did not. They came from behind, and they just obliterated Clem's push, but only after it did kill an Immortal, a Colossus, and a Nexus. But then it loses almost every single unit on the retreat. If he had been able to escape with 4 medevacs, 2 of which I think had units inside of it, I would say that was a gain for Clem. Although I'm actually not really sure about that. But as it is, it's definitely not. As it is, Clem definitely took too much damage. This is troublesome. Now Clem is 100% on that defensive posturing that I was talking about. His tanks have been deleted. Now he needs Vikings, but he also needs medevacs. And you could technically build both, but the point is you're not getting to a high enough number very quickly. So, I think Clem's dead. Mentally, he probably already is. Sounds really brutal, but I think he is already admitting defeat, even though he's still microing. He knows how bad that was, and he is well aware of the pacing I just described. More than most. So, I gave my my sister-in-law this really stupid thing from Japan. I just thought she'd find it funny, and she did. It's like a sexy lemon. They have these like weird little keychain things where it's like a really sexy body. It's like only wearing underwear, but then the head is like a deer or a lemon or something else, I guess. I thought she'd find it funny, and she did. But she said something. She did like a pun with it. She was like, "Lemon, ask you this." Anyway. I think in StarCraft 2, you can ask her to be united for that. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they should have asked us. I mean, I think getting feedback in general is always good. There is that. But I don't think we would have any say what happens to what they want to do. I know a lot of people are calling for the StarCraft content creators to be more collaborative, which I think is more important now. But I think it's always been something the StarCraft community has lacked compared to some other grassroots communities. We don't do a lot of collaborations. We hardly reach out to people outside of StarCraft's field, but we hardly reach out to each other in the first place. And now that we need some type of organization to help us with the tournaments, it would make more sense for us to talk to each other, and we are, but to actually get like a collective that has, you know, everyone is a part of, and everyone agrees on a certain set of rules and a certain set of like expectations, that's very difficult to do. I'll just open the floodgates for puns. So that game went about as expected. Clem is the one that has to change things up. But what worked once against Hero was doing like more 2-base all-ins. He doesn't seem to want to do that against MaxPax. I don't know why. I'm sure it maybe somewhat has to do with the fact that MaxPax almost always 3 gates. Whereas other Protoss might throw in a 2-gate more often. Or even might still 4-gate actually as an attempted all-in. Which, if that doesn't work, is far more of a blow to the Protoss. And then Clem probably wins those. But if you're facing someone who 3-gates, you know, giving them more units to apply pressure to you, but then also alternatively more units to just defend and keep map control and all the things that would matter if you were leading up to a 2-base, might make Clem more hesitant, but I don't think that's a big enough issue, because 3-gate would help against earlier attacks, not necessarily like a 2-base SCV pool, I think. You'd have to worry more about, like, do you have shield batteries? Do you have a surround? Do you have a run-by? Do you have an upgrade finish? Do you... whatever. You have 8 gateways instead of the 6. But it might just be, then, because MaxPax is just proven to be too good against 2-base all-ins. His play is too solid, it's too structured. Unlike maybe a Hero who is obviously a very good Protoss, but might be a little unstructured. I don't know. But I just know that Clem doesn't try 2-base all-ins versus MaxPax. We are Dre TC. We have, you know, a schedule, so we don't run over each other's events, and we're free to talk to each other in that Discord, obviously, but no one really wants to. Well, right now, you know, there's a push from, for instance, the OSC guys, I think, to have everyone incorporate into the OSC system. But then, would that mean we are all beholden to the OSC rules? We might not want to be, for whatever reason. Maybe someone has bad blood with the guys. Or maybe less dramatic, they want to be able to change the map pool. Or they don't want to have to work with a separate party. Like, whatever it is. That's a full wall right there. So, no way the Reaper Hellion can get in. Does cancel the gateway, I guess it was. So it is going to be 3 gates and a robo. Clem was able to find some probe damage after the attempt to break into the natural. Could find that again when MaxPax goes to get his 3rd. But he keeps his units alive anyway, but he also wants to check to see if there is a third. And if he checked again, he would notice it. But there is a Banshee follow-up here, something that we see Beyond do a little more than most other Terrans, and that Clem has tried adding into his play versus Protoss. If it works, it can work brilliantly. If the Banshees are just something the Protoss doesn't even think about, they forget that it's a unit, and they just suddenly pop up 2 Banshees and 2 bases, all without shield batteries, that's a lot of dead probes. It's a huge distraction as well, so if they're leading up to a 2-base attack, that can add a little extra spice to it. It can work. But it has been a while since I've seen the Banshees really do a game-changing amounts of damage. There was one game where the Banshees were quite impressive. I didn't think they would be, and then I remember I was corrected. But I don't think that ended up with a Terran victory. They just made the game closer. Can't decide whether I'm depressed or excited. Well, I've already gone through the stages of grief, so I can't. I feel like I've already gone to the bottom of the barrel depression-wise for a lot of different reasons in the past 6 months. America. You know, so I don't have that moment right now where it's just like everything is up from here. Yeah. I would say you would still overall be sad. We're still going to miss a lot of things that we were used to in StarCraft. But try and look at what could be positive. And the one thing I'm looking at is that I think we will see more and more change-ups to force change in StarCraft 2 since Blizzard isn't doing it. So I think as time goes on, more players will arise to contest the top players. So we're going to have a mix-up of players. And it won't be for the best reason. It'll be because the top pro gamers can no longer afford to play 16 hours a day. But it will mean we'll get more names than just the 6 we always see. We're going to get very different maps because people are going to get bored and there's not going to be any balance changes possible. So we're just going to have to change up the maps like Brood War did. And so already we're seeing a lot of tournaments try and incorporate new maps, which is great. But I think we're just going to see crazier maps and more maps. And I think those could be fun. Thank you for the fine bitty booze. Gonna do another podcast soon. You know, I always think about getting, you mean like a talk show, right, for StarCraft? Well, I always think about it, and then I'm like, I'm not sure who I really want to contact, and who has time, and who wants to, and I'm not a very good organizer, honestly. I hate reaching out to people. Stalkers are on the front, just waiting for this push. Clem has pulled the boys, by the way, so it is a 2-base all-in. Let's see if MaxPax is invulnerable to these, or perhaps Clem bringing out the most aggressive thing he can think of will actually work to bring this series around. Scan ahead reveals just a single shield battery, a handful of charge lots, and an immortal. That's not incredible, but the zealots that would otherwise be there are harassing the mineral line, ensuring that this is an all-in. SCV's doing a great job tanking all that damage. Immortal got caught in the front, unable to be microed back. Tank does siege up. Probes could be sacrificed. Well, ideally, you don't sacrifice the probes. The Nexus could be sacrificed for the greater good. If the probes are as well, that's still okay because Clem is going to be on maybe not even 1 base economy. We do have still a good number of Protoss units, but the Colossus very much necessary, starting to burn down those SCVs a little faster. The SCVs still do their job as far as tanking, but it's still easier with AoE. The SCVs actually pulled back. That's a very rare move. I don't know if I like it or not. But if Clem wasn't going to pull the trigger and continue to advance right then and there, then the SCVs were useless. Just walking around in the middle of the map not doing anything would have been useless for them. So, but if he was planning to continue attacking like this, then maybe the SCV should have stayed on the front lines. He is very close to getting that Colossus. No more Zealots coming in quite yet. 1 Colossus down. Second one does help. And we're out of a lot of medevac juice, but not all of it. The Zealots do once again go across the map. Would am I not quite able to kill the Warp Prism? 8 probes go down. Those are kind of the ones that were saved initially. Third Nexus has to be canceled. It's definitely an odd game. Not enough Stalkers really chase after the medevacs, but MaxPax will try. Has to be wary of the Widowmine plus what is left over of the bio. I mean, it's still relatively healthy, actually. The tank is also firing away. All the zealots have been depleted, but there is just not a lot of bio left over. They were in the orange, and they will have to escape. Most of them do. 3 medevacs left alive, 1 full of units. Zealots cleaned up on the backside. Clem, having pulled those SCVs back and replaced some of them as well, is back up to certainly a 2-base economy, although he is running out of minerals. So is MaxPax. It's one thing that's guaranteed. Both of you running out of minerals on your initial 2 bases. No one is in a fantastic economic position. Their Nexus does come down from MaxPax. Obviously, Clem could just lift his main. That would make a very vulnerable 3rd base, but it's better than nothing. It actually looks like he's going to build a 3rd CC. That's... For how this game has ended up, I guess it makes sense, but it's kind of crazy to see an SCV pool return the SCVs and make a 3rd CC. That is a fearsome Protoss army. Not a lot of Zealots on the front line to tank, but 2 Colossus beaming down make that 1. A couple of Vikings were added. The medevac count had stayed fairly strong for the situation for a long time. So Clem made that choice to not continue producing medevacs, but rather to add in a handful of Vikings, and that did help right there. That did absolutely contribute to the Colossus' death. What am I drop while everything is panicky and all over the place? Kills 9 probes. That's not the worst. It's obviously not the best either, as they are both losing out on literal minerals to mine from. There's only a certain amount of probes that you need, but he does want more than 39. MaxPax wanted to do a lot more damage on that counterattack. He was hoping he still found an injured, medevac-less, and hopefully Viking-less army, because this game has been so scrappy. And if he had found no Vikings and a limited number of medevacs, then his 2 Colossus would have bullied that bio for a long time. Although the lack of Zealots is always going to make it a little more vulnerable than I'd like. But instead, he found plenty of bio, just enough healing, and those Vikings added in. And MaxPax's kind of counter, well, it failed. And now his defense on the 3rd is also going to fail by the looks of things. 2 base. Dedicated attack. Because he did end up pulling back his all-in. It has worked. MaxPax not as prepared as he would have liked for the very start of the game, or the start of the push. You know, his 3rd base ideally would have had, well, more Zealots. I know he used Zealots to run by as well, but ideally you still have more Zealots on the defense as well. Maybe another shield battery or 2. That would have been a more ideal defense. But to muster that much cash is always difficult. He might not have noticed it was going to be an SCV pool until quite late. He was on top of the army with his stalkers, but maybe he didn't notice that the 3rd CC wasn't being built, right? I'm not sure, but he's got to do what he can with the units that he has, which is a lot more than you'd expect, apparently. These are also better upgraded bio units. They've been for a while, I think. MaxPax with some good targeting. Marauder-only armies are tanky as hell, and the Colossus feel kind of useless against them sometimes. But on the flip side, they don't deal a lot of damage to Zealots anyway. So sometimes Marauder versus Zealot, like, you actually get opportunities to focus fire on the Marauders, and it can look, you know, better for the Protoss than you would expect. But overall, pretty confident in Clem's victory here. Almost got a hell of an Artosis pylon. Shield battery save was good. MaxPax now trying to take advantage of the lack of defensive units. There was at least 1 drop on the side of the map, actually 2, with the Widowmine drop as well. This time he did prepare for it, he did react to it. And the lack of units on the defense hasn't created a huge problem yet. But MaxPax needed that for sure. Oh, and he needs this for sure too. Yeah, he needed that moment where he was able to deflect the aggression and get his own aggression. And that's a tight walk right there. That's tightrope for sure. But he was able to find it. Now Clem almost entirely on the defensive. Widowmine drop still trying to go on, but only getting 1 probe right there, I believe. I think we have the mod back on. That is a big bio army. Not a whole lot of healing, and the Viking number is not impressive either, but that's just actually so much bio. I don't know about this MaxPax. It gets any type of concave, and again, better upgrades for the bio as well. Oh, the concave has come, and the SCVs have been pulled. The CC has been lifted. A couple of Zealots on the backside trying to help out, but we do have the Protoss army forced to retreat at least a little bit. Now, this is about wearing out the Terran army at this point. Clem needs to actually straight up kill the Protoss army. He can't do this. I'm going to pull everything and try and win right here. Just kidding, I can't do it and pull back because he doesn't have the medevac energy for it. That is what MaxPax is taking advantage of right now. More Zealots have been warped in. 2 Colossus barely still alive. 1 finally goes down. Second one not healthy as well. But this could be enough. Zealot Stalker and Archon added in. The Marauder's very injured from the earlier stim and pull. Only 1 medevac available. Vikings landing since the Colossus are all gone. Guardian Shield now part of it. And this Warp Prism staying alive might be the kicker. Maybe the Vikings, we could try and take that out, but there is so much to focus on right now. Clem obviously just trying to hold on for dear life, maybe in a little bit of disbelief. I am a little bit. I mean, I understand how it went down. I still am a little bewildered. MaxPax was in such a tough spot. And his aggression in the face of adversity ends up being his best feature again. I mean, this is one of the things I think that he was good at years ago and is highlighted even more in the current meta is that he refuses just to stay it back at home. What people think Protoss will always do. Oh my god, he won. But there's a lot of reasons why Clem figured that he had time to go for a drop in the main. I wouldn't mind dropping the third. There's a lot of reasons why that made sense. But the only reason it doesn't is if the Protoss player is confident enough or has enough information to know that they can deflect the double drop and find the third base defenseless.